Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. I hope you're doing well. Well, I'm kind of in my house now instead of my backyard recording. Thank you for being here. That's my cat. Hi. If you are wondering what's been going on and what's up with all the weird episodes lately, I have been out of the house for a few days. The studio's closed down as far as my recording space so that we can do remediation in our house after 2 back-to-back floods over a 5-day period, which has been fun. Not really, but fun. And I want to start first before we jump into today. I want to say thank you to some of the most amazing people in the world who have been reaching out, checking on us, being kind, supporting us. We have that Buy Me a Coffee thing. I want you to understand, like, my wife is not a podcaster per se. Like, yeah, she gets it. She likes it. She supports me. That's awesome. But the emails, because she can see the emails coming in from you guys and your support for me and us during this process has really touched my wife. Like, really, I want to say thank you for that. You know, the money's awesome. We appreciate it. We can use that and we can help our neighbors. We can, it's great. I really, truly, I don't want to devalue that at all. Thank you. 1,000 times thank you. But the emails and the comments and the people reaching out in support, generally my wife is going to see those emails before I do because I'm sleeping during the day and working at night. So she's just in awe of you. And on behalf of Jen, thank you for what you do. I really appreciate what you've done for us, and my wife can see the love. So thanks. But yeah, I want to talk today about kind of still on this podcasting through crisis theme that I've been working through. I've got a few more episodes I want to talk about as well, but I want to expand it beyond a natural disaster like what we've had recently into some more stuff around podcasting that maybe we wouldn't at first consider to be something that could harm our podcast, but it really could. The idea around our own mental health as a podcaster and creative burnout, like just when you just don't have anything left, and how we as podcasters can push through that, move forward, and find our next chapter as a podcaster. So I'm here to support you. I'm here to encourage you. And I'm glad you're here. Thanks for pressing play. One of the people I admire in podcasting a lot, his name is Danny Brown. DannyBrown.me is his website, and he hosts many, many podcasts. Super amazing guy. We've imported him from Scotland here to Canada, and we both live in the same province here in Canada, and we've met once, but in a different province in Calgary, Alberta. And he's just a great guy. And he's been very open and transparent around his own mental health, personally and as a content creator. And he shares his journey openly with us as members of his community. And I think it's one of the things that, like he would also say, is not spoken about enough in podcasting, is that we as creators, we give all the time. And we rarely have anybody pour back into us and refill our tanks. And we seem to run on empty a lot of the time as content creators. And I agree with Danny. I think that there needs to be more said at conferences. There needs to be more said in the podcasting space about mental health. It's not the sexy AI talks. It's not how to make money with your show. All of the normal things that you'll hear about at conferences and big events, and what gurus like to push at us as the most important things in podcasting. Mental health is a huge part of what we do. I want you to get something really clear, and I hope that it comes through not just in this episode, but many of the episodes we do on this show, is that podcasting does not come at the expense of your own health. I really admire Mark Ronick. He is the host of the Podcasting Morning Show. He also runs a podcast business supporting podcasters. He has a podcasting conference, the Empowered Podcasting Conference. Like, the guy is just pouring himself out, and recently, bravely, has come on and just admitted that he's needs a break. He needs to walk away, and he's taking the entire month of August off to find himself and to get away from this sense overwhelming dread and fear of burnout. And I'm like, that takes some guts to do. That takes some fortitude to admit that, hey, I need a break. And I think as podcasters, we live in this creative outlet. For some, it becomes a business, but for all of us, it's a responsibility to create and to serve our audience. But when every episode and every post and every interview and every deadline starts to feel really overwhelming, the work that we put into podcasting can begin to affect everything that we feel physically, emotionally, and then throw on top of it a natural disaster. And you get to the end, and it makes sense to take a break. So in this short episode of the How to Podcast series, I just want to explore how to recognize those creative burnout moments, and how to manage your anxiety and overwhelm, and how to protect your own mental energy so that you can keep going and create in a sustainable way that doesn't harm your health or make you hate podcasting. So I'm glad you're here. Thanks for pressing play. So I guess there's a thing called pain tolerance. And it's interesting because some people have a high pain tolerance and some people have a very weak pain tolerance. And that could be like physical things, like hurting your back and you keep going. A paper cut in the worst possible spot. But, you live with it. And then there's other people that like a stubbed toe takes them down. Like, we're all different people, and there's not one approach to this, and we should not feel judged and compare ourselves to other people's tolerance levels. And mental health is another example of that. So for some of us, we might not have the same reaction to some of the things that happen to us, and we just keep going forward. And I think the big mistake there is to assume that everyone else should be like you. And that's not true. It's not fair, because there's other things that people can do that you can't, and other ways that people respond to things that happen to you. You'd respond in a very different way. So to say that everyone has to be like you and live the way you live is kind of silly, actually. So you got to keep that in mind, and don't try to emulate and model someone else and their journey, because there's no two journeys alike. What happens when your podcast that you love begins to feel like another source of pressure on top of everything else going on in your life? There's a connection between mental health and creative burnout for podcasters. There's some warning signs, I think. And if these things start to crop up for you, then it's time for you to have a conversation with yourself or a trusted friend in podcasting. But when you start to feel overwhelmed, like when there's just, it's like kind of like financially overwhelmed, where you have more days in the month than you have money in the bank, right? And you're like, how am I going to make this work? We can feel overwhelmed with just the day-to-day of podcasting. Sometimes that's just simply asking for help, asking for someone else to step in, asking for someone else to contribute and support you, take off a few things off your plate so that you can focus on the things that really matter, the things that you prefer to do. That's where editors come in play. That's where podcasting friends come in, where they can record episodes for you and be your stand-in on your show. There's a lot of opportunities here. I don't think we always pursue these when we're doing well. It's when we are running into problems. That's when we try to make solutions on our own, and they don't always work. This constant content production schedule is really draining, and it can really empty out your creative energy banks, because you're just give all the time. And you're not refilling yourself. You're not reading. You're not listening to podcasts. You're not going for walks or listening to music or doing something outside of podcasting to fill you back up. Because it doesn't have to be podcast related to fill up your podcast creativity tank. It just needs to be something you enjoy and something that's not podcasting. I think that's one thing we can really focus in on is what do you do that makes you happy? And why aren't you doing more of that? Is you're spending all your time podcasting, you're going to run empty. And when you run empty, you're going to get overwhelmed and you might even stop. And we don't want you to stop. We love what you do and your audience really loves you as a creative person. So keep that in mind. As podcasters, we need to find ways to reduce the pressure that we're feeling in our podcast schedule and releases and all of that. Maybe find ways that we can simplify what we do to give us back time. And how do we get back in touch with that love of creativity? I talk to authors who run into the same thing, whether being forced or pushed to write a book every year by their publisher, and they're just like, I just don't have it. How do you keep moving forward with it without treating exhaustion as a proof of commitment? Like, look how great I am and how tired I am. I must be doing something right. Your podcast should support your life without consuming it. So you sit down to record your next podcast episode, but your mind is already racing. You're thinking about the episode after this one that you have to do next. And, I got to create the social post to go with this. I haven't done that yet. My podcast isn't growing, so that's another thing that's weighing on my shoulders, is this thing's not happening the way I wanted it to. I have my ideas, they seem tired, and they seem like I've done this before, and I'm lacking some motivation to even show up and do the work. And when you do show up, you don't feel fully present, like you're all there, right? I like the saying, wherever you are, be all there. And in podcasting, I think that's really important to, when you show up to do your show, that you're all in. Like, I'm here, I'm focused, I'm ready to go. My phone is put away. I'm here with you. Wherever you are, be all there. I think that's really important. Sometimes you just can't. I find that when we talk about burnout, it creeps up on us. It's not always dramatic and obvious. Sometimes it looks like just avoiding things in podcasting and avoiding our podcast altogether, or putting things off, procrastinating. Maybe we become a little bit irritable, stupid little things really get at us and start picking away at us. We just become numb to the whole podcast thing. We lose excitement. We're just like, this used to be my passion and now it's my position. This used to matter. Right? So how do we recognize overwhelm? A few things to think about. Overwhelm can show up in a variety of different ways. Feeling mentally tired before even recording your podcast. Constantly second guessing your ideas. Or, is this a good topic? Does anybody care about this? Or also second guessing the output, the performance, the analytics, the response, and the lack thereof from our audience. We start to avoid editing. We're like, I'm just going to let it go the way it is. I used to care, but now it's just like, I'm just done with this. Let's get this out. We avoid publishing. We pull back from any form of consistency or frequency. We've talked about this on the show before. And we avoid communicating with our audience. We feel guilty for not doing the thing, so we stop talking to the people we feel guilty towards. And in that feeling guilty, we just feel like we're not allowed to take a break. We lose our curiosity for podcasting or interviewing people. I felt that for Living the Next Chapter. I've got almost 800 episodes, and I'm like, another author. Do I have to do this again? Do I have to pretend that I care about books? And I'm like, wait a minute, Dave. What are you talking about? Do I have to pretend to care? I love talking to authors. But in the moment, there's something else pulling at me that I need to go and address. And sometimes it's just the idea that I'm just going to shut everything down and not be a podcaster today and not feel guilty for doing so. I find some podcasters treat fall into this trap where they treat every episode as an emergency. It's the last thing to do at the end of the day, and then they feel rushed and they dive into podcasting for the wrong reasons. We need to make a distinction for us between needing a short rest and experiencing ongoing mental health challenges that actually could require some real support from a qualified professional. So again, we're all at different stages and we all have different pain tolerances. We all have different things that we handle in our ways. But at the same time, we're all humans and we do need support. So if you're at that spot, please seek out help. Talk to a fellow podcaster as a good starting point, but you might get to the point where a professional who's actually trained and has the tools to help you would be a better choice than talking to your mom. So keep that in mind. So how do we reduce the pressure as podcasters? So I'll put this list in the show notes so you can refer back to it yourself, but some practical ways that we can make podcasting more manageable. When we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling like our mental health is tapped out, here's some stuff. Shrink the task. Focus only on the next step, the outline, the recording, the editing, or the publishing. Just shrink the task. Just focus on only one of the next steps at a time. You can also lower unnecessary standards. Not every episode needs to be a masterpiece or the most profound or polished thing you've ever said. Sometimes it's just checking in. Create a minimum viable episode. Decide that this is good enough to publish, which means it's good enough to go out, and I'm going to just release it as it is. Be happy with what I have. It's not perfect. I know it could be better, and I'm not worried that people are going to be upset. As long as people can hear what you're saying, good enough. Get it out the door. And then for me, what I'm doing is batching selectively. Batch only the tasks that are genuinely going to help save energy for you, and constant batching can also become overwhelming as well. So you got to be careful. How about building just a lighter format for your show? It could simply be going from a 45-minute recording once a week to a 10-minute episode. Use shorter episodes. Maybe if you're all interview-based and that's overwhelming and you need a break, switch. Go every second week with an interview, once a month with an interview, and then add in your own solo reflections to fill in the gaps. Reruns of your older episodes with new commentary, or just bringing an old episode from the past up to your more recent episodes can give you a break. Opening the door for your listeners to ask you questions during demanding periods where you just don't have anything in the tank to talk about. And I think one thing that's really helpful in podcasting for you to think about is to create a stopping point and decide when the workday ends. When you have a typical 9-to-5 job and you work for somebody else, they pay you to come into the office or work at the store or do whatever, go on the job. And there's a time when you go home and you don't take your work home with you. You need to create a stopping point for your podcast. Decide when the workday ends, even if the to-do list is unfinished, and be okay with that. What about protecting your mental energy as well? Creative energy is a limited resource for us as podcasters. There's only so much that we can pull from. It's not an unlimited personality trait that we come with or born with. We need to identify what are the things that drains you the most when it comes to your own mental energy. Is it the research, the interviews, the editing, the social media, the analytics? Is it the constant thoughts about your podcast? Is it the pressure to stay visible? For people to know you're still there. Wave the flag. Don't forget about me. Look for ways to simplify. Look for ways to delegate what you do. And look for ways to automate what you do so that you don't have to do as much. What part of my podcast requires the most energy but creates the least value? That's a great question to ask yourself. What part of my podcast requires the most energy but creates the least value for me as a creator? What is it for you? For me, it's social media. requires the most energy for me. That and contacting my guests after the interview, telling them that the podcast is live, creating the artwork, doing the thing, writing the articles, all that stuff. So I'm a podcast first, audio podcast first. I get video. I understand video. I love that you love video. Good, go for it. I'm an audio first podcaster. Video's in the margins of life when I have time. And I don't promote my episodes and my guests nearly as good as I could. But the episodes go live. And that's all I got. That's all I have. And for me, it's good enough. I could be better. I could do way better if I put more effort in here. But there comes a point where I have I'm done for the day, push away from the desk, turn off the mic, and go live life. And that's how I keep going. We need to reframe consistency. We've talked about this before. But again, some thoughts just because it fits really well with what we're talking about today. We have to change the idea in our mind that consistency must mean publishing at maximum capacity forever, and that it's the same as frequency. It's not the same as frequency. Consistency is not frequency. Those are two different things. Don't confuse them. Consistency can also mean communicating a realistic schedule. It can mean taking planned breaks before reaching the crisis point. Returning with sustainable formats that are actually not overwhelming. It could just be podcasting too much. Saying this from a guy doing 365 this year. You could just be doing too much. And that's a simple change. You own that change. Return to a more sustainable format and choose quality and presence over constant output. Stay connected to the reason that you started and podcast and community. Be around other people, like our meetup. Be around other people who will hold you accountable, support you, and challenge you. Give you a little kick in the butt when you need it, and give you permission to chill when you need it as well. You don't have to abandon your podcast to take care of yourself. You just simply need to change the way that you carry your podcast. A sustainable creative practice is not built by ignoring your limits, but it's built by respecting them and knowing how to work in and around them. I would love for you to take one pressure-reducing task and change it this week. You don't protect your podcast by pushing through every limit that you feel is around you and hurting yourself in the process. You protect your podcast by creating it in a way that leaves room for your health, your relationships, and your life outside of the microphone. I would love for you to do something to simplify your podcast this week, and also something that fills your cup. Whatever it is, read a book, go outside, do something unrelated to podcasting, and find something that makes you happy. It could be strumming a guitar, playing with your grandkids, talking to your neighbor, going out for coffee with your best friend, and not talk about your show. Talk about life and reconnect with others. And that could be the simple thing that could help you to address your mental health and your creative burnout. If you ever need help, you want to chat, reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca. Happy to talk anytime. You got this. Take care of yourself. Talk soon.
This episode got me thinking about something I've been doing almost every Saturday for the last several years now. Regarding real change taking longer than a weekend, I wanted to mention a podcast meetup run by a friend of the show, David Campbell. Rather than have Dave do a promo about it himself, I spoke with a fellow member of the group, Bill Monty.
I was so lucky to just stumble upon Dave's meetings. The first meeting, I knew this was different than other groups I had belonged to. First off, the other groups I had to pay to be in. And sometimes I was completely ignored, never asked a question or even acknowledged that I was part of a little 5-person group. And so this became something very different for me. And really it was someone tossing me a lifeline, because at that point I was just thinking about giving up podcasting. Dave uses the word community a lot, and that's exactly what we've built. We've built this little podcasting community of people who actually care for each other. There's no judgment. There's no sales. It's a great place to learn, and it's a great place to feel safe.
If you're looking for a podcast community that feels more like a long-term conversation than a weekend transformation, the easiest way to join is visit Dave's site, howtopodcast.ca, and scroll down to the meetup. It's free, and honestly, it's one of the few podcast groups I keep coming back to.
You're still here. Excellent. Well, just a quick comment from a podcast listener. They were saying that they really enjoy the show, and I appreciate that. And I love seeing your comments in Spotify, for example. You can leave a comment in this episode. It's right there on your listening app. If you're listening on Spotify, great. I'd love to hear from you. And leave your mental health tip there as well. That'd be great because everyone else can read it as well. And if you know a podcaster who's struggling, if you could share this episode with them, I think this would be something they might need to hear. And maybe there's a nugget or two in here that could really help them. If you're struggling with your own mental health and you need more than just someone to commiserate with, you need help, then search up locally where you are, because we have people around the world who listen to this show. So one phone number is not going to help the world here. Search up, ask for help, talk to your doctor, get the help you need. Don't slough this off. Don't minimize the things you're feeling, and speak to a professional. And if you need to take a break from your show, take a break from your show. The world will carry on. But keep in mind, your audience is going to miss you, and your audience cares about you. So be open and transparent to the best of your ability and desire. Let them know what's going on, like Mark Ronick did from Empowered Podcasting. He just let people know this is what's going on. And there's a lot of grace and permission from your audience and a lot of support. I'm thinking of him right now. People think of you when you put yourself out there like that. So Mark, we're thinking of you, encouraging you to get the rest you need and come back bigger and better than ever. Not in consistency and frequency, not that. But we love who Mark is and what he does, and looking forward to having him back. So do it. Take care of yourself. We'll talk soon. Go get some help. You got this.